week, Sports Express takes you to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the HFC Hydroplane Series, the 8th stop, the Milwaukee's Budweiser Splash. HFC Hydroplane Series sponsored by Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource, and by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Everybody, I'm Jim Hendrick along with Mark Spencer on the western shores of Lake Michigan, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where for the very first time the Unlimited Thunderbolts will entertain at a 2-mile race course. With us are the 2 top drivers in points for the HFC Hydroplane Series, starting with Miss Budweiser, driver Tommy Deeth. Tommy, this has big sweeping turns, but you haven't got much time to start off the exit pin before you hit the starting line.
Right, it's only about a 3.5-second run from the exit pin to the starting line, so you're going to have to really pay attention to your scoring up actually coming around the turn.
Actually, right now, you got to really pre-plan because you better be in your lane as you come off that exit pin.
Right. The key thing is there's no room up there to waste any time, and you have to be going in a straight line toward the clock, and with only a 3-second run from there to the clock, there's just no room to waste any time. You have to do all your negotiating before that point.
The water conditions are not the best that you could hope for, but they're the best of the last 3 days. But 155 plus for the top qualifier was Chip Hanauer in Circus Circus. Mark, you've got that guy right next to you.
Chip Hanauer, you're number 2 on the points parade. You're looking for some points, and it's going to be rough water. What does it take to navigate the Circus Circus in ground swells?
Really just a lot of probably blank-mindedness to go out there. It's, you know, ground swells, there's nothing you can do. What a ground swell is a big, long wave that the boat can't span. The boat actually falls down in between and then runs up the other side like a ramp. There's not much the guys can do to set the boat up. You just kind of have to grit your teeth and go.
Jim, these are the 2 fast turbine drivers, the Miss Budweiser and the Circus Circus, but let's not forget the Pringles and the Winston. They're going to make it interesting
and
here.
Old Boy Alberto also, the whole Miss Madison. We've got them all. We've got all the action coming up from Lake Michigan, Milwaukee, Wisconsin in just a moment. For this event today, Circus Circus leading the way. Let's go to the pits.
Bernie Little, you've baptized a lot of new race courses in your career. How does this one rate?
Well, probably a 10. I've never been to a race course for the first time that was as well put together and organized as Milwaukee has. They can really be proud. They can't do anything about the wind blowing and the weather, but I want to tell you they can be real proud of what they've done here.
Now, the Budweiser season, it's been up and down. You've got to be really impressed with your crew's resiliency. It seems like every time you get knocked down, you just come right back.
Yeah, well, the Budweiser crew has been trained to do that. They thrive on it, and they want to be the best. They are the best, and the only way they can prove that is to show what they can do in a time of emergency.
Thanks a lot, Bernie. The HFC high point standings, only 773 points between the Miss Budweiser and the Circus Circus. Jim?
Bob Hughes, we talked about the budget. Miss Madison, town supported, special fundraising events. When you chew up a prop and take part of the boat out, that costs money. How do you do that? How do you afford to do this?
Well, it was real expensive, Jim. We had about $35,000 worth of damage that we fixed for $5,000 with the volunteer effort. The unfortunate thing about that is that we lost a lot of equipment we didn't replace. A gearbox, a prop, 2 shafts, a lot of hardware, a rear strut, etc. that we don't have now and we can't afford to replace.
Mike Hansen, not only driver, but you actually get in there and work in this boat yourself. How many man-hours to repair the boat since the last race?
Oh, well, basically it was me and another crew member did most of the repair work, and it took us about 203 hours in 2 weeks' time. So it was no picnic. It kept us busy for 2 weeks.
Weather, a big factor here in Milwaukee. The wind is gusting at 10 to 15 miles an hour, and as Chip said in the open, we got ground swells.
Cooper's Express, driven by Mitch Evans, ready to do battle at Heat 1A. Whole set Miss Madison, driven by the man we just talked to, Mike Hansen. Mark Tate in the Old Boy Alberto Turbine. Miss Circus Circus, driven by Chip Hanauer. As they come down now on the inside, it looks as the whole set Miss Madison has the inside on the course, and the Circus Circus in lane 2. Here they come for the start, and the water, well, not the best, but the best we've seen in a couple of days. Circus Circus in lane 2 comes up really quick now, as the whole set Miss Madison dives for corner number 1, and Chip Hanauer takes it out in front, the Pink Lady.
Chip Hanauer set the pace in qualifying here, Jim, on the Milwaukee course. He also gave the Miss Madison the start there. He gave him the inside lane, decided not to even play with that tight fit between the exit pin and the start line.
As we look at the Old Boy Oberto, driven by Mark Tate, coming down the back chute. There's a breakwater here that slows some of the waves from coming off of Lake Michigan, but still, with the wind, if it comes out of the north or the south, can chop up this course right now, and it's a 2-mile course. As we look at our leader, Chip Hanauer, looking for 400 points here in Heat 1A, and as we said earlier, goes in trailing the Miss Budweiser by 773 points. Old Boy Oberto with Mark Tate currently running in second place, 136 plus mile an hour for our leader, the Miss Circus Circus.
It's been rough water the last 2 days. They've had very little qualifying time. It's been hard to pick a combination because they just didn't know what to expect.
Oh, we have a problem right now, and it looks like the Coopers Express. Yep, that's right, Mitch Evans. He's picking up that canopy. And Mark, you know, when he does that, he's through for at least this heat.
Circus Circus continues to set the pace out in front. Chip Hanauer laying him up and putting him down. 137 mile an hour average early on. He's back down just a little bit here in the rougher water. Wants this win. Needs the 400 points if he's going to make a run at the Budweiser coming down the stretch.
He's in the north turn right now, down by the pit area, and a very, very tight turn it is, as the drivers are talking a 3-second run from that point up to the starting line. Then you really get into rough water in corner number 1 after you make your start. Just comes up little light for the Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer from, whoa, hang on, Chip, from Seattle, Washington.
Chip is fast gaining a reputation as being the premier rough water driver on the circuit. At the last race in Seattle, he won there in rough water. Looks real good here in Milwaukee. Crew Chief Dave Vilwalk doesn't quite put as much of a premium on top-end speed as he does on getting the boat around the course in the quickest way possible.
That means tight turns, hanging on the hook, and get your average speed up. And as we look at the pink lady, Circus Circus representing that hotel casino organization where we're going to race here in a few weeks at Las Vegas, Nevada. As Chip Hanauer hangs it on the hook, the skid fin on the left side. Looks like he's going pretty good through that northern turn because the water's a little smoother there. And he slowed it down about 12 miles an hour since his first lap. We have a problem. Old set Miss Madison, driven by Mike Hansen, is starting to limp now. Was up there to challenge at the start, but they're having some problems. I don't know if they'll be able to finish, Mark.
Tough break for Mike Hansen. They spent the last 2 weeks repairing that boat. They had a propeller break at the Seattle race. Really caused a lot of damage to the bottom of the boat. They've worked all the last 2 weeks to get ready. Tough break, though. We get a report from the pits. They've got a motor problem.
As we look at our leader, coming down for the checker flag, it'll be Chip Hanauer in the Circus Circus, winner of Heat 1A, and he'll pick up 400 points for his efforts here in the first action of the day.
400 very valuable points. The Old Boy Alberto will finish second, Mark Tate.
And he'll pick up 300 points for his efforts. Meanwhile, we do not have a finish for Coopers Express or Miss Madison. Let's go to the pits. Mark?
Chip, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the roughest, just how tough is it?
I'd say it's a 6. You know, we race rougher places. I'm surprised.
Now, that run to the first turn, looks like you were content to have lane number 3.
Yeah, we didn't draw any of the real tough guys. We didn't get Pringles or Winston or Budweiser. I had to respect the Alberto because they can come up and bite you. But, no, we were content lane 3, stay out of trouble, and just let the boat do its job.
More action coming from Milwaukee's Budweiser Splash, the 8th stop of the HFC Hydroplane Series after this timeout. We're back here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now let's take an inside look at unlimited hydroplane racing, brought to you by Performance Corner. For high-performance parts in over 700 stores nationwide, call 1-800-533-8989.
The rear wing stabilizer, let it fly. How does it work?
Well, the rear wing on one of these big unlimiteds is really a horizontal tail or stabilizer. And just like an airplane, it's designed to keep the boat going straight ahead and make it easier for the driver to control.
Fine adjustments, they can make a big difference.
A very big difference. About 1/4 of an inch of movement of the trailing edge is about 1 degree on these wings, and that can make as much difference as 300 pounds load, upward or downward, at the back of the boat at the speeds they're running.
And, Doug, the adjustments have to be made in the wing before the race.
That's right. The driver will come back in after a test run and tell the crew how he thinks the boat is acting. The crew will determine how much to move the wing, move it, and set it in place, and it stays that way throughout the race.
Down in the Pringles pits, where this boat is really coming along. And George Woods, how much improvements do you think you've made since the first race in Miami?
I'll tell you, Jim, we went from running in the 120s, and I think we can consistently run in the 150s now. We've progressed every race a little at a time, and I'll tell you what, we're really proud of what we're doing.
Now Heat 1B, Mr. Pringles, Turbin, George Woods Jr. at the wheel. Steve Wilmer's Winston Eagle, the U10 driven by the veteran Jim Cropfield. Jerry Hopp to drive the Thor Racing U7. And Tommy Neath in the seat of the Miss Budweiser U1 as they come down now to start this race off of corner number 4. We're looking north here on Lake Michigan, and on the far outside, the Winston Eagle. It's Jim Cropfield close to the shoreline, but on the inside, Miss Budweiser with Tommy Neath.
Tommy Neath is wasting no time. He took the inside lane right at the top, opens up a pretty good lead as the Miss Budweiser's dancing on the sponsons. The water here in Heat 1B seems to be quite a bit rougher than it was in Heat 1A, Jim.
Well, you have to watch the wind now. If it comes out of the west, it'll lay it down like a blanket. If it doesn't, then they've got a problem. As we're on lap number 1 in the back chute along the breakwater, and look at the Mr. Pringles comes inside as George Woods takes the short way around the course on the inside of the U10, the Winston Eagle. But they're still battling for that number 2 slot as they come down the corner number 4.
Great battle. George Woods Jr.'s on the inside. Jim Cropfield's on the outside.
The Winston Eagle went way wide there, Mark, and of course, going the short way around the course of the buoy line in the Mr. Pringles is George Woods, and he takes over second place now, and the Winston Eagle in third as we look at our leader over 140.2 mile an hour on lap number 1, Tommy Neath from Fairhaven, Michigan.
Tommy qualified number 3, Jim, but that really doesn't mean very much because the water here has been so rough. He just wasn't able to unleash the Miss Budweiser and show the true potential of the boat. He's won 4 of the 7 races coming into this event. Looks real strong here. He's been itching to get out on the water. He loves the action here in Heat 1B.
As we look at our number 2 boat, going down the back chute on lap number 2, we're looking at George Woods Jr., driver of Mr. Pringles. Jeff presents Mr. Pringles, if you will, that rainbow-colored boat, and she's improving race by race. As we look now at the Pringles coming off of that corner 3, we go back to our leader, Miss Budweiser, Tommy Neath. One of the victories that he had this year was the most coveted of all for every year, and that's the Gold Cup. Look at how he slowed down, 128.8 from a 140 lap. He's backed off 12 miles an hour.
Tommy Neath continues to lead the race in 3rd place as Jim Cropfield in the Winston Eagle. As you can see, he's getting a tough ride. It's been a tough season for Jimmy Cropfield and Jim Lucero. They've tried to resurrect an 8-year-old boat, Jim. It's been tough for them, but you know these guys are going to be a factor coming down the stretch.
They definitely are. As we look at Jerry Hopp in the U7 Thor Racing Machine, this boat, not the fastest of the fleet, but steady. They usually complete what they start, and they're looking for bigger and better things in 1991 as they get their, shall we say, paying their dues, but they're there, they're steady, they're competitive. Here comes the Miss Budweiser, coming off of corner number 4, Tommy Neath, who, as we said, won the Gold Cup this year. He's won 3 other races, so he's 4 of 7. As he comes down and looks for a 400-point finish, he's 128.2, so he's really backed off. And riding in smooth second place is George Woods Jr. out of Seattle, driving the Jeff Presents Mr. Pringle.
Important point to make here, Jim, here in the first heat. The drivers have never raced here in Milwaukee. Therefore, they have no reference points, no landmarks, no frame of reference. This is all virgin territory for them, and they're all learning.
If he can maintain 3rd place, Jim Cropfield from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the Winston Eagle will pick up 225 points. Only the top point getters at the end of the day run for the checkered flag and the money here in the Milwaukee's Budweiser Splash. As we look at the boat itself, Tommy Neath driving toward a 400-point first place finish here on the western shores of Lake Michigan. The first time ever that these unlimited hydroplanes have raced in this city.
Jim, a bit of a dichotomy here in Milwaukee. The water is really rough as it gets on the unlimited hydroplane circuit. However, we have 1,100-foot turns here, the widest and broadest turns of any race course, which means if the water would lay down, Bernie Little thinks the Miss Budweiser could have ran speeds close to 165 miles an hour in qualifying. This could be a fast race course.
As we look at the U7 Thor Racing, it's Jerry Hopp currently in 4th place. You know, Mark, talking about a fast race course, I was talking to Chip Hanauer, who's the top qualifier at 155, and he said that on qualifying first day, he just happened to hit a weather hole where the water had laid down. Before and after his run, it was rough.
There just hasn't been very much test time. The Miss Budweiser crew, though, they've got a lot of experience. They've given Tommy Neath, obviously, a setup that'll work. They're probably using a setup much like they would have used at the last race in Seattle or maybe at a Detroit. That's what this race course here in Milwaukee is like.
As he comes down for a checkered flag finish, he's gone from a 140 in the first lap down to 125.3 on this, the fifth and final lap. 400 points for this winner, Miss Budweiser. Here is a 300-point finish for second place. Jeff presents Mr. Pringles, George Woods driving. Third place will go to the Winston Eagle with Jim Rumpfeld as he comes off the apex of corners number 3 and 4 to take the checkered flag, and Thor Racing finishes fourth. All four finished. Now let's go down to the winner's dock.
Tommy, you made that one look easy.
Well, it's not as easy as it looks. It's pretty lumpy out there, but the Miss Budweiser ran really pretty good considering, you know, the rollers and the ground swells, and we're real happy with it. We got 400 points, and that's important.
Is visibility tough, you know, when you have kind of a gray cloud cover and the water's also kind of gray? I know it's got to be tough to read the water.
It really is tough to read the water when you have the gray, you know, cloud cover. The water's kind of grayish looking, and you're really looking for the best place to run, and it's awful hard to find it.
More action from the fastest race boats in the world, the Unlimiteds, here in Milwaukee in just a moment. Action, let's take a look at this great city of Milwaukee. Here in Milwaukee, just pick your favorite sport. You can feel the excitement of international cycling competition. You can catch a Milwaukee Brewer doubleheader at County Stadium. You can catch the Bucks on home court at the exciting Bradley Center Sports Complex. Check out a Milwaukee Waves soccer match, and boy, you can have it all and more right here in this great city of Milwaukee. Enjoy the color and pageantry of the great Circus Parade, and don't miss all the good times that Milwaukee's Lakefront Festival grounds have to offer. The top two high point getters of the season, Miss Budweiser and Circus Circus, have drawn each other, but they won't see action until Heat 2B.
Chip, when the water gets rough, is it more of a driver's race or is it more of a boat race?
I think comparatively to smooth water, it becomes more of a driver's race. Smooth water, there's really not much you can do. You don't search for better water, or, you know, maybe being a little more courageous. You just smash the gas and hope the boat speed has it. Rough water, you got to be a little more cunning, I think.
Experience, that really has to play a factor when the swells kick up.
I think it does. In knowing your boat, having a lot of experience in a boat. This old boat's an old friend. We've been through a lot of rough water races together. And that's really critical because you know what it can do, you know what its limitations are, and you can take it right to its potential.
Just before the Milwaukee race, a big win for your team in Seattle, probably a turning point in the season.
It was. It was a very critical race. We had not finished the race prior in Tri-Cities. We drew the Budweiser twice. If we would have lost to them twice, it probably would have been the end of our national championships hopes. As it turns out, we beat them twice, and it put us right back in the ball game. It's still a reach. It's 763 points, but it's doable. Had we lost both those heats, it probably would have been out of sight.
There's a problem down in the Old Boy Alberto camp. Owner Jim Harvey and that crew working feverishly. They are getting near the deadline as the boats are now on the course. The 5-minute gun is fired. Now, can they make it? By the rules, they have to be running by the 1-minute gun.
Mark, the clock's ticking. What's wrong?
We got 2.5 minutes for the 5-minute gun. We had a gearbox problem coming out of the first heat. The crews worked very hard to change it. Boat's coming in the water right now. It's going to be very tight for us to make the next heat.
As the boats mill, we're getting close to that 1-minute gun. A boat must be on a plane at the 1-minute gun or is disqualified and will not get an official start. That 1-minute gun has fired, Mark. He will not become an official starter. He doesn't know it. He's inside that cockpit. He can't hear a 1-minute gun, but I think he knows it's suspicious.
Tough break for Mark Tate, the Coopers Express, Thor Racing, Old Boy Alberto, who is not a legal starter, and the Mr. Pringles.
As they come in, it looks like Old Boy Alberto, and we'll have to wait for official word. We are not the referees. We'll have to wait, but I don't think that the Old Boy Alberto is an official starter. But look at him on the right. He's really got it hanging out. Mark Tate on the inside, and look at him. Almost flies that boat. Oh, hold on. Mark, you don't even know if you're really in the race. Don't take any risks.
Mark Tate, the juices are really flowing. The crew has been working for about the last hour trying to get that boat ready. He smoked a gearbox in the first heat. They got him out there. However, he doesn't know that he is really not an official starter. George Woods is coming up on the outside.
And he'll take over, coming on the back chute. But look, here comes Mark Tate again. But we do have official word. It's no start for this boat, who is now taking the lead, driving his heart out, but it will not count. Now, as we come around to complete lap number 1 of 5, the boat on your left, George Woods Jr. driving Mr. Pringles is your official leader. The boat on the right was not on a plane at the 1-minute gun, and by unlimited racing rules, if you're not up and running by the 1-minute gun, you are not an official starter.
Jim, an interesting turn of development here. Probably the most interested onlookers on the shore are the Miss Madison crew. They failed to finish the first heat. So did the Cooper's Express. Without Mark Tate running here, that's going to move Cooper's Express, if they can finish, probably into the third place spot, which is going to make it really tough for the Miss Madison, who is in Heat 2B, to advance to the final.
Here's your Rookie of the Year. In my book, Mark Tate. Of course, a lot of experience in the limited classes. He's moved up to the unlimiteds. He's from the Detroit, Michigan area. As we look at George Woods Jr. in Mr. Pringles on lap 2. Lap number 1 for George. Not too bad. 122.6. He's not really pushing it. Here on lap number 2, about the same thing. 121.9 mile an hour.
Jim, they're calling Mark Tate the next superstar of unlimited hydroplane racing. I've been very impressed at just how calm and cool and collected he is in the cockpit. He also does a very good job of coming back to the beach and telling Jim Harvey just how the boat's performing. He has a lot of experience in limited racing and has a bright future in the unlimited.
Right now, he looks like he's going to the infield. I don't know if he has a problem or he saw the black flag, because they were trying to black flag him because he was not an official starter. So as we look at our leader, it's Mr. Pringles with George Woods Jr. at the wheel, who was the Rookie of the Year back in 1987. As we look at our third place boat now moving up, Thor Racing, Jerry Hopp, the driver. He's out of Seattle, Washington area. And he's currently a lap down as he's been lapped by the number 2 boat, Mitch Evans in Cooper's Express.
In the first heat, Mitch kicked a rod out the side of the number 2 cylinder of his big Allison engine. They've got 3 engines here with the Cooper's Express. However, they're only going to use 2. This is their last motor because they got to save 1 for the next race in Kansas City.
Old boy Alberto is pulled out of the infield, back on the course. I don't think he saw the black flag.
Mark Tate obviously doesn't have radio communications with Jim Harvey in the pits. He started the race after the 1-minute gun, got black flag, pulled into the infield, but he's back out there running. However, George Woods in the GIF presents Mr. Pringles. He's got a lead that will not be beat.
Here's your second place boat, Mitch Evans from Lake Chelan, Washington, and he's driving the Cooper's Express.
In this era of turbine-powered unlimited, sometimes we overlook the fact at just how impressive the Cooper's Express and the Miss Madison are. These 2 boats have shattered every piston-powered record in the books. This boat was built in 1988 by Mitch Evans, so he's not only a driver, but he's also a hull designer and an excellent woodworker.
As we look at our leader, Mr. Pringles, driven by George Woods Jr., as George comes down to take 400 points, the checkered flag, and the winner of Heat 2A. And they're going to have to shoot Mark Tate out of the saddle and get him off the course. He's still running, but he'll get no points under the rules. Second place and 300 points will go to Mitch Evans and the Cooper's Express. And third overall goes to Jerry Hopp, Al Thorison's boat, the U7, Thor Racing. Now let's go down to the Mark in the pits. Mark?
George, even in victory, it doesn't look like you've shown us your ace yet.
Oh, no. We just went out there, where it was comfortable. I know that the Alberto was running on a black flag, so there was no reason for me to go any faster than I was. So we just took it around there and got the 400 points, which we needed. Now we're going to get to the final. I know the guys want to do an engine change, and we're going to do a little more odds and ends and see if we can't pick up the speed and run a little more comfortably faster in the final heat.
How do you feel you match up against the Bud, the Circus, and the Winston in the rough water?
Oh, I'll tell you what, we made some changes on the boat. I think it's getting better. We really won't know until we get out there. I'd like to say that we can get over this bumpy stuff, but I'll tell you this last heat, it was pretty rough out there. And I hope that the wind kind of dies down. We get a real good final heat.
We'll be back with more HFC Unlimited Hydroplane Series 1990 Milwaukee style in just a moment. Lake Michigan here in Milwaukee as we look at the high point leader, Miss Budweiser, and he'll be challenged by the number 2 HFC point getter, Miss Circus. They go head-to-head here in this heat. Let's go down to Mark.
Mark Tate, I'm not so sure the best race of the day wasn't between you and the clock trying to get ready for that heat. Tough break.
That was a bad break. You got to give a lot of credit to the old boy Alberto crew. They just did a tremendous job and worked their hearts out to get the gearboxes switched around. But, hey, we just ran a couple ticks short on the clock. I was out there running, and after the second lap, I thought I had a black flag. I wasn't sure. I pulled into the infield, let the field go by, and came back out on the race course and went real slow by the judges' stand, and we definitely did not make it. We got the black flag. It's unfortunate circumstances, but that's part of racing, and hopefully we'll have enough points and and make the final heat.
I know you'll be watching this heat with a lot of interest.
A lot of interest. The whole crew will be watching. This will tell us what our fate is.
At every race, we take at least one look at one racing team. But the team that's at every race is the Unlimited Racing Commission. Commissioner Don Jones, it takes teamwork to put these races on.
Indeed. We have about 15 people who travel with us each weekend. We start off with Deputy Commissioner Lee Shaneth and our 2 referees, Paul McKee and Mike Noonan. Our Chief of Safety is Doug Ford. Our timekeepers, Wilbur and Mary Heights, along with Ed Nelson, who is our Chief Inspector.
So far, it's been very professionally done, Don. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And let's not forget Dorothy Hanson, assisted by Shirley Shaneth. And they're at every race and really working hard in the traveling office of the URC. E2B now, as they come down, it's jockeying for position. The Miss Budweiser, Mark, and Circus have been playing cat and mouse for the last couple of minutes.
This is the race we've been waiting for all day long. And the race has begun before the race. They're jockeying for lane position. It's all important here in Milwaukee. The Circus is on the inside. The Budweiser's on the outside.
Now, after playing cat and mouse and almost barely on plane for about a half a lap, Circus and Budweiser, here comes Miss Budweiser with Tommy Deeth. He goes out in front. He's coming down. We're under the 1-minute gun. You cannot cross the starting line until that clock goes completely to 0 or you're penalized a lap, so the start is very important. Here's the rest of the field, the Winston Eagle and the whole set Miss Madison, those 4 boats. Now Circus, lost in the rooster tail of Miss Budweiser, has moved out to lane number 2. That'll be Miss Budweiser, lane number 1. Circus, lane number 2. Here's the red boat, the Winston Eagle, in lane 3, and on the outside closest to the shore, the whole set Miss Madison. As the clock goes 5, 4, oh, little water taken on by Circus in lane number 2. The clock is 0. The race has started. Look at the Budweiser. Tommy Deeth leaps out of the water as he dives down the corner number 1.
Tommy Deeth has a point to prove right now. Heading into the final, he wants to play a little mind game with Chip Hanauer. Show him just how tough the Miss Budweiser is in rough water. Ronnie Brown, the crew chief on the Bud, has given Tommy a combination that'll work here on the Great Lakes.
There's your difference. The Miss Budweiser on the left, the Circus on the right, about 12 boat lengths. But you never know in this racing. You never know. Here's your second place boat, Chip Hanauer, who came into this race 773 points behind this boat, the Miss Budweiser, driven by Tommy Deeth.
Tommy Deeth's got the Miss Budweiser rocking and rolling, 145-mile-an-hour average here on the first lap. He's determined to put as much distance between himself and Chip Hanauer.
He's flying that boat really light on the front end, 145.778. And the second place boat, Circus trying to catch up.
The 2-mile competition record, Jim, is 152.027 set in Syracuse. So they're really not running that far off the pace, considering just how tough the conditions are.
And moving into third place, the whole set Miss Madison.
Third place won't be good enough for Mike Hansen. He must finish second to get into the final.
Right now, we've just received word from the official tower that this boat, the Miss Budweiser, driven by Tommy Deeth, has been assessed a 1-lap penalty for bearing out somewhere before the start of the race and a $300 fine for the driver, Tommy Deeth. So now, currently, the whole set Miss Madison is in second place.
And your new heat leader, Chip Hanauer in the Circus. Jim, you can put money in the bank that Ronnie Brown has told Tom Deeth about the penalty. Right now, he's in 4th place. That's going to put a big point gap between him and the Circus overall. He's got to keep running and make up ground on the Winston Eagle and on the whole set Miss Madison.
As we look at the whole set Miss Madison, currently riding in second place. The way it stands, the Circus first, whole set Miss Madison second, third place to Winston Eagle, and the Budweiser, as we look at it, officially 4th. He's going to have to catch the field. Remember, 4th place finish, only 169 points. First place finish, 400. And the Circus and Miss Budweiser battling for the HFC High Point crown, and they're doing it here today as we look at whole set Miss Madison.
The race for Tommy Deeth right now is catching first. Jim Cropfeld in the Winston Eagle. Then he's got to try to reel in Mike Hansen, who's going to be running for his life because Mike must finish second to advance to the final.
Well, he's not wasting any time now. He's coming around the field. He's got the Winston Eagle, Jim Cropfeld, in his sights, and beyond that is the second place boat, the whole set, Miss Madison. The Circus Circus quite a lead now because of the penalty for bearing out to Tommy Deep. Here's our leader with just a couple of laps to go as we look at the Miss Budweiser coming up in the tail of the Winston Eagle and passes him by. So now he's moved from 4th to 3rd place. That would give him 225 points. Now let's see if he can catch the 2nd place boat before it's over. Whole set, Miss Madison.
The whole set Miss Madison crew, as we made the point at the top of the show, has spent the last 2 weeks repairing their boat. They broke a propeller in Seattle right at the base. It tore up the entire bottom of the boat. They spent several hundred hours repairing it. They really want to get into the final here in Milwaukee.
Fine racing team, Mark, and here's a team that will have no problem, I'm sure, getting into the final as he leads at the Circus Circus. Meanwhile, our 3rd place boat is the Miss Budweiser, taking sight on the 2nd place boat ahead of him, and that would be the whole set Miss Madison.
Back in the days when Tommy Deep used to drive limited hydroplanes, Jim, he sat behind the engine. So what he did is he tied a scarf to his wrist that would blow up, and as he got oil on his goggles, he would use that scarf to wipe the oil off of his goggles. He's continued that tradition here in the unlimited hydroplanes. He's got 2 scarves that he wears. He wears a red one when he believes he needs experience to win. He wears a blue scarf when he feels like he needs luck. Now, here in Milwaukee, guess what color scarf he went out with?
Would I be right if I said blue?
He went out with the red. He went with experience, and he's going to need all of his rough water experience right now if he's going to catch Mike Hansen in the whole set Miss Mazda.
We are on the very last lap, and the way they stand is the Circus Circus in 1st place, whole set Miss Madison in 2nd, Miss Budweiser pressing from the 3rd place position, and in 4th, it's the Winston Eagle. As they come down now, the Circus Circus. Driving hard, Chip Hanauer, as he comes around to take the checker flag, and the winner of Heat 2B, he'll pick up 400 points. He has 800 points on the day, and look at him rock off that number 4 corner as he wins Heat 2B. And Miss Budweiser, coming down the back chute, has passed the Miss Madison just before corner number 3. So it'll be the Circus Circus picking up 400 points and gaining 100 points on the 2nd place finisher, who had to lap almost the entire field. Tommy Deep and Miss Budweiser will get 2nd place. 3rd place will go to Mike Hansen and the whole set Miss Madison, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to get him into the final. We'll have to see. Winston Eagle finishes 4th. Let's go down to Mark in the pits.
Chip, your version of the start from the seat of the Circus Circus.
Well, it looked like when he got to the exit pin, he never went straight. He just kind of kept coming to the right and got me a little bit wet.
Now, your advantage, though, from a performance standpoint, it looked like Tommy had a little bit on you. Or did you change your strategy when you knew he had a penalty?
No, well, after we knew that, but we had an engine that wasn't playing at all good, so we're going to change that.
What do you do going into the final?
Well, hopefully get a better engine and hope for the best.
Now, reason to smile, you gained some points.
Yeah, we did, and that helped. You know, going into the final, we're still here to win the boat race. You know, we don't want to get so wrapped up in national points. You know, we want to win here in Milwaukee, so we'll worry about the points back at the hotel tonight.
The final field is set here in Milwaukee's Budweiser Splash on Sports Express, and we'll have it all in just a moment.
Spencer along with Jim Hendrick. We're getting ready for the final. All the fast turbines are here. The Circus Circus, Miss Budweiser, Mr. Pringles, the Winston, and oh boy, Oberto. It's unlimited hydroplane racing at its best.
Here's a familiar face, Vice President of HFC Marketing and Development, Joe Jeffers. Joe, it doesn't seem possible. This is the 3rd year of HFC series sponsorship.
Jim, you know, it doesn't really. The time has really gone by. We're looking forward to year number 4.
You know, with the voting of the Hawaii race, transferring points to 1991, we have 3 more events after this one, and again, the HFC High Point Championship, very close.
Jim, it's almost a carbon copy of last year, right down to the last race, to the last heat. Terrific. But that's racing.
Look at the markets now, where they were getting. This Milwaukee market's pretty good.
Couldn't be better. I'll tell you, it's been a great weekend, and the crowds have been just tremendous.
Now, as the boats warm up, here's the lineup. Circus Circus, driven by Chip Hanauer. Tommy Deep in the U1 Miss Budweiser. Mr. Pringle, George Woods Jr. in the cockpit. Jim Kropfeld to drive the Winston Eagle. Jerry Hopp in the Thor Racing. Oh boy, Oberto, Mark Tate in the U2. And the provisional starter trailing the field would be Mitch Evans in Cooper's Express. 1 minute gun. Less than a minute to go as we look on the right to Miss Budweiser. On the left is to Mr. Pringles. Circus Circus is out there. This is a very important part. Which lane do you want? which is the smooth water. Are you going to get pinned in lane number 1, or will you take it high and wide? Here's the national high point leader, Miss Budweiser, down now to 673-point lead over this boat. Second place nationally, the Miss Circus Circus.
A lot at stake here, Jim. The race win is on the line here in Milwaukee. The points race overall in the national championship, it's getting tighter. Plus, there's a matter of pride. Chip Hanauer and Tom Deeth have been battling all year long. Nothing new here in Milwaukee.
Jim Kropfeld on the buoy line takes lane number 1 in the Winston Eagle. The Miss Circus Circus with Chip Hanauer in lane 2. On lane 3 is Tom Deeth in the Miss Budweiser. The rest of the field is trailing as we start the race here on the western shores of Lake Michigan, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's Circus Circus going into corner number 1 first, and we'll take that turn sweeping wide all 1,100 feet.
Jim, do we have a repeat in the making of the Seattle race where Chip Hanauer led wire to wire in the final in rough water? Right now, Tommy Deeth is trying to make up ground, but not getting it done.
Tom Deeth in second place in Miss Budweiser, doing a little wobble as he comes down the back chute. In third place, it's the Winston Eagle with Jim Kropfeld, and whoa, look at the ride. That Chip Hanauer goes through that northern turn down near the pits in the Circus Circus.
Jim, at the top of the show, we established the fact that Chip Hanauer is probably the best rough water driver in unlimited hydroplane racing, and Tommy Deeth has a reputation for being number 1 at the starts. Not so here in Milwaukee. Chip Hanauer clearly got the edge at the start, and he's making it work for him. 139.659. The Circus Circus is running hard in the rough water. Chip Hanauer has really got it hung out.
He's driving the Pink Lady right on the brink. Sponsored up, sponsored down, raise the front end, slam it down. He's just guiding an unruly monster in first place. Second place, Tom Deeth in the Miss Budweiser as he comes down the back chute. Tommy, if he maintains this position, will lose 200 total points on the day. Here's our third place boat, Mr. Pringles, George Woods Jr. from Seattle, Washington, as we go back to our leader.
Credit Chip Hanauer's crew chief, Dave Villwalk, for doing an excellent job on the setup. There was a lot of guessing coming in here to Milwaukee because test time was so limited. He's obviously given Chip a combination that'll work.
137.680 mile an hour on lap 2, and look at that front end come up. You see the whole skid fin exposed, and that boat is just flying across this rough water course here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have half the heat in, 2.5 laps, and second place still rides Miss Budweiser. Third place boat is Mr. Pringles, who's about a 130.8 mile an hour on the lap. The Circus Circus laps the Cooper's Express, which was the provisional starter. We're looking at our fifth place boat. Oh boy, Alberto, the cowling mark is missing in back of the driver.
Rough water's taking its toll on Mark Tate's boat. They've broken off the cowling, which is going to change the aerodynamics on the Oh Boy Alberto. Chip Hanauer out in front. You have to wonder, Jim, when's the charge going to come from Tommy Deeth? You know he's got the speed to try to make it interesting. So far, it hasn't happened. And if anything, Chip Hanauer has widened the gap between first and second place.
Circus Circus has completed now 3 laps, 2 more laps to go. As we look at our second place boat getting a little wild, Tommy Deeth riding late in Miss Budweiser, so maybe with the water conditions, he cannot catch the Circus Circus.
Tommy Deeth has been running unlimited hydroplane since the early 1970s. However, Jim, he's never finished a whole season where he started every race. Oh, look at the Alberto. Earlier, the cowling was coming off. Now the sponsor's breaking up. Rough water is really taking a toll.
Looks like it's the top part of that right sponsor that has the problem. He pulls to the infield. Mark Tate is out of the race. Meanwhile, our leader, Miss Circus Circus, driven by Chip Hanauer, comes off of corner number 4. He'll get the green flag, signifying 1 more lap to go. And if he can maintain the lead, and he's probably hearing gremlins right now, he'll have won his 4th race of the year out of 8. He'll tie in victories with Tommy Deeth and the Miss Budweiser, 4 apiece, and pull within 573 points of the HFC High Point Championship.
An amazing turn of events here. Chip Hanauer got a great start, and Tommy Deeth has never closed the gap on the Circus Circus. Chip put a fresh engine in just before the final. Obviously, he's making good horsepower.
As we look at our leader, coming down the back chute for the final time, the Miss Circus Circus. Here is your 4th place boat, the Winston Eagle. He'll get the green flag. 1 more left to go for Jim Kropfeld from Cincinnati, Ohio. Former national high point champion in his own right in Unlimiteds. But here's the Pink Lady bouncing out of the water for Chip Hanauer. Comes around near the pit area, the north end of the turn, He spots the checker flag, and he'll come down to win race number 4 for the Circus team for 1990.
An impressive win for the Circus team. That makes it 2 in a row for Chip Hanauer. Coming into the Milwaukee race, Chip had made an exhibition lap in the harbor here. Said, I don't know if this race course is suitable for unlimited hydroplane racing. I'll bet Jimmy's changed his mind now.
At least he knows he won the first race ever held here. As we look at our second place book as Budweiser, here's Mr. Pringles. Third place finish for George Woods Jr. As coming off the front of number 4 and lapping the Coopers Express will be our fourth place finisher. It'll be the Winston Eagle with Jim Cropfield. He's had a bouncing rough ride in the Winston Eagle entry today. Here's our final field with Circus winning overall. Here's Budweiser second, Pringles third, and the rest of the field. We have a happy driver getting out of the cockpit of the Circus. Mark will be talking to him. We'll be back in just a moment. Circus Unlimited Hydroplane winning crew. Let's go down to the pits and Mark Spencer.
Chip Hanauer, a big win. 20 years from now, when they look back in the history books at the winner of the first Milwaukee race, it's going to say Chip Hanauer into Circus.
Yeah, it's really fun coming here, and I have a lot of old friends here because of the Miller Brewing Company, and a lot of people from the brewery came down and wished us well, and I just want to thank Dave Vilwack and the entire team. I just have the nicest, hardest working, intelligent group of people I've ever been surrounded with, and just the execs at Circus, and it's just really great.
Things went your way right from the start.
Yeah, I finally got a bloody start, you know, and it had a good start and had the inside, and the boat handled well. It was just, if you sit down and you try and design what you want for a final heat drive, we got it today, and I'm glad it came when it did, because the first 2 heats, I didn't feel very good. I felt kind of out of sync, and I really got in sync in the final.
Were you surprised that Tommy Deeth wasn't more of a factor in the final?
He's a factor. Easy for you guys to say. Dave lets me know where he's at, and a couple times I think he made runs at us, and I never could just, you know, sometimes by the 3rd, 4th, 5th laps you can start to ease out, but Tom kept us honest, and we had to keep a pace up the entire time.
Water conditions, how were they?
They're rough. They're really rough. Roughest they've been all day. This wind has switched directions, I think, about 68 times here in the last 2 hours, and I think it's going to be the nature of racing in Milwaukee. I think we learned a lot here. I think maybe we can position the race course a little better, and my hat's off to Milwaukee. They came in here, took a big chance, and I wasn't sure if they could put a race on or not here, and they did it, and I'm real proud of them.
That's 2 in a row for the Circus. Things are going to get interesting in the points parade as it comes down here to the final few races.
Yeah, you know, we've made up a lot in the last 2 races. We've made up 400 points, and we're right back in it now. It's going to go all the way to Las Vegas, and that's all I ask. I don't, you know, winning it would be great, but we'd just love to get at least to go down to the last race.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
The HSC High Point standings show a 573-point lead for Miss Budweiser over Circus. There's the rest of the points for the teams. Kansas City, Missouri will be our next stop. Then it's on to San Diego, and our last point race, Las Vegas, Nevada, in September. America's financial resource. And by Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop. Promotional consideration has been provided by the Pfister Hotel, Milwaukee's preferred hotel, the official headquarters of the Unlimited Racing Commission. When you travel to Milwaukee, choose the Pfister Hotel as your headquarters. This has been a production of IPI Sports.